Welcome, everybody. Welcome, George. Hi, this is
Hi.
the Masters of Flow Summer Talks. This has been a series of talks in the past 2 weeks between a community of people. We all met this past year. We have all been fascinated and training and implementing high performance tips and tricks. And also, we have been studying this amazing scientific body of flow neuroscience. And we're all bringing it into our lives, bringing it into our clients' lives, and into hopefully our families and our communities' lives as well. And we've been in talks with people from all different walks of life, highly successful individuals who just joined in this high performance and elite level training, quite intense. And I've had the pleasure to um, meet George several times, be together, have conversations on all of these amazing concepts that we're learning. So welcome, George, and thank you for joining us for this talk.
Thank to you. I appreciate. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. And we are going to just briefly introduce ourselves, just to say a few words about our backgrounds and how we came into this flow space and what are we doing with our clients. And then we will jump right into one of great topics of flow, which is not only goals, but how to use flow as a way to bigger goals. So I'm very excited about this topic. But George, can you tell us just a few words about your background, where you're from, and how you came into the flow space?
Yeah, surely. One of my activities that make my heart sing, it's psychology. So I have strong background on this domain, and also I'm using hypnosis in hypnotherapy. And lately, to this collection, I added studying from flow research collection, and I have this knowledge in flow. And I'd like to underline that this flow is not just a wonderful phenomenon, it's backed with neuroscience, a practical framework that we can implement in our life to achieve results, to make more fulfillment, to increase our well-being. And I think we will describe all these brilliant possibilities and opportunities during our talk.
Yeah, very interesting. Most people in our community are coming from either a professional corporate background or a coaching background, but I've also seen that many people from in the field of psychology eventually have worked their way into expanding into the coaching aspect of it as well. And I think in coaching is also quite a big important piece to have this psychological and therapeutic training and understanding of human behavior, really. And
Surely.
my background for those people who are watching this live and in the replay as well and don't know either me or George, my background has been in corporate communications. I've done that for over 20 years as a corporate executive. And I practically burned out in all levels. And I've mentioned this in many of my talks. My burnout was actually a big crisis, but also a big opportunity. It allowed me to just step out of that little world I had built and go into a really a soul searching journey to understand why have I created a life that doesn't really fulfill me, doesn't really make me happy. It seemed like I had all of the things that I wanted. So I had studied, I've lived in New York for a big part of my life. I'm originally from Albania, and just having this opportunity to really be wherever I wanted and have the jobs that I wanted and live the life that I wanted really created this big question: what is missing then? Where is the happiness, and what does it take to live a life of well-being? And as I did a lot of soul searching and I was really considering going into psychology, completely shifting my profession into psychology, I went into the world of energy psychology and learned and trained to work with tapping, EFT, which is an interesting technique that blends cognitive modern talk therapy with ancient Chinese acupuncture knowledge. And that was an entry into human psychology and also how we store our emotional intelligence in the body and how to work through our emotional piece. Then came flow as the other side of the coin, as a way to not only to perform, not only to get things done in the world, but to do things that we love in a way that it doesn't burn us out, but as a way that not only does it fulfill us, not only can we achieve things and feel achieved in the outer world, but to also create a sustainable well-being in the long run. And that was a fascinating world that opened up for me when I entered into flow. I was a little skeptical at first, a little afraid that I was again going back into my corporate aspect of Iris, like the doer, the getting things done. And then I was a little afraid I was going to burn out again, work too much and just feel overwhelmed with everything. And then through flow, I learned that we can bring that level of performance that high performers and athletes and extreme people are achieving. We can bring it down to earth and we can implement it in our normal everyday life and bring it into the common corporate world or the common community world as well. So that's how I came into the flow work. And now it's been a fascinating journey and it just continues to expand and evolve and seeing it, how people are embracing it, how clients are using it. It's a continuous journey for sure.
It's wonderful. And maybe can you share some of your biggest insight about the flow from your personal experience?
Yeah, I would say that part of the key things, number one, has been aligning myself with what I'm passionate about. A big part of my burnout is that I felt that I didn't understand it, but I just felt unfulfilled. And I realized why, because I wasn't aligned. Whatever corporation I was working with, it wasn't what I was passionate about. It wasn't what I was driven intrinsically. So I think my motivation just really kind of ran out really quickly. And so I learned a big factor is being passionate about what you do. And the other big factor is having very clear goals. I think we're quite challenged with that. I think it's self-explanatory and obvious for most people in the corporate world. It's all about goals and objectives and achieving numbers. And we seem to know that. But in flow, I learned a whole other level of goal setting. And we talk about very clear laser goals. We talk about ridiculous goals, meaning so tiny, minuscule goals. And we talk about mission level goals, which are your purpose kind of goals, like big picture life goals. And that was a whole other world and a whole other way of seeing goals as a key to performance and well-being.
Definitely, because flow and goals are super interrelated. And obviously, if we look at from the side of the logic, why do we have to use this super perfect framework for increasing our productivity and performance if we do not want to achieve something? So we should have something in mind about the outcomes, about the desired target state that we want to achieve. It's not just about some material things, it's about your state, because you can make some result, but you do not mentally you do not ready for this, and you are not familiar how to live with this. There are a lot of examples where people who were not very wealthy, some poor people, they win a big cash in lottery, but after some short period of time they became poor again because they don't have this mental state, the state of being where they are rich. So we need to make some congruence between our image and our readiness for this outcome. And this brings me to the idea that if you want to use a flow framework systematically in your life to achieve bigger results, it will touch your identity, because you will have to, let's say, sit somewhere with yourself and make sincere conversation about your truth, what you really want. I'm always asking my clients, what do you want? Because most of the time people speaking about the things they don't want. I don't want this, I don't want that, this annoys me, this makes me sad. But what you really want, it touches, like you wonderfully mentioned, your passion, your curiosity, something that will motivate you from the inside, something that will make your inner spark to shine brightly. And this is where I think all starts, because it's not just flow, it's not just some super cool tool that you can use to make a quick fix. We became very prone to quick fix in modern life, but it's about changing everything. You will have to change your lifestyle, your habits, your eating style. You will surely have to define your goals very precisely. And we will recommend it, and I found it very reasonable, that we will have to make the goal stack. So we will have something that they call massive transformative purpose, but it sounds too complicated. It could be something that is mission of your life, that if you want to have some meaningful life, if you want to make some fulfillment, and maybe it will touch not only you, but the lives of other people, to make something better, for example. So it's like general umbrella about meaningful life, let's say. And then you came down to a lower level about what we call high heart goals, or just, that would be just goals. Normal goals that could take about a year or 5 years to achieve. It's some projects that you need to fulfill, like meaningful milestones that you will go through in your journey. And for everyday use, we have clear goals that you mentioned. It's like laser-focused actions that you need to perform to achieve the big outcome that you desire.
And I'm glad that you touched on the massively transformative purpose, because this has been a pivotal moment in my life. When I encountered Stephen Kotler's work, one of the things that I really connected with was this idea of massively transformative purpose. And because of my burnout, I was on this journey to understand, what do I really want? Who am I? What is my calling? What is my thing? And for many people who are not born with a talent for singing or doctors or whatever, like for most normal people, we get into corporate jobs and we just kind of don't really have a thing. We might be passionate about a lot of things, or not necessarily passionate, just like different things. So I was curious, I was struggling with this, because I love a lot of things, but what is my passion? What is my thing? What am I good at? What am I supposed to do in this life? And as I was doing all of this soul searching, when I encountered Stephen Kotler's work on massively transformative purpose, the idea being that we have a big vision, big mission, goal, which he calls a massively transformative purpose, or just a purpose in life. And I like what you said, that it's really just the meaning that we give to our life. And it had just come around the time where I was realizing what my mission is, what my purpose is, what the meaning of my life is. And I played with that, and it just came out so clearly in the moment. It's mastering the game of life. Why? Because I love getting good at things. I'm I'm always learning the next thing and this and that. Why do I do anything really? It's because I just love being good at it. So it's not just one thing. I'm not just a good singer or a ballerina or an executive, corporate executive. All of these different identities. And I like that you touched on the identity piece as well, because ultimately, to have the right goals, to get to the good and clear goals, big goals, small goals, it doesn't matter. But a good goal is really about your identity. It's really about who you are fundamentally. And when I got that level of clarity that, okay, maybe I'm not just a dancer, just a singer, just a this, just a that. I'm just somebody who loves getting good at everything that I touch and that I put my hands on. And so my identity, my goal aligned very much with this identity that I just love getting good at things. I love mastering the game of life because life is like a game and mastering things is like a game. You know, you get good at the game. And so that is I think one of the foundations of getting into flow, because you get into flow when you are doing something you love, when you are doing something you're passionate about. If it's boring for you, you will not get into flow. You may have all the props and the tools of getting into flow. You may have a clear goal, but if that clear goal is not meaningful to you, you may do it, but you will probably won't get into that flow state. And here in this talk, we're talking about flow as a way to bigger goals. So we can set daily goals, simple goals, business goals. We can all set goals, but having a bigger goal means having more clarity on your identity, how you identify with that long-term bigger goal. And when you're aligned, I think we can dare to do bigger and better things.
Yes, it's like we will have the sense of direction in our life. And we will know the destination point. And speaking about burnout, it seems to me that here's the point when we could touch how authentic our goals. Because growing up, we are going through upbringing by our environment, by our parents, by our caregivers, by society, and we have a lot of patterns that are indoctrinated. I don't speak about something wrong or something bad. It's just how we acquire knowledge. We acquire knowledge from other people. We have some patterns. We make some habits, and it helps us to survive, to start mastering the game of life. But then we came to the point where our authenticity should be revealed. So we should say thank you to the old strategies we acquired from our society, and we need to rethink them. And this is a part of being authentic, because some patterns, some habits will be outdated. And if you want to have meaningful life, you, let's say, will have to sacrifice some habits. You will sacrifice some patterns of thinking, of creating emotions. But to make it worth the effort, you will have to know why you're doing it. That's why your big why is this clear goal about where you are going.
Yes, and I call it the North Star. And it was so powerful for me that I created a program around this formula that Stephen Kotler and the Research Collective have brought to the world, and I've adjusted it with the emotional freedom piece and the emotional intelligence piece, and I've tested it out with quite a few people and my clients who are trying it out. It's really, it takes work. It takes awareness. It doesn't take work. It takes awareness. It takes willingness to go deep within and dig in for those things that you are aligned with, that you do love to do, that you are curious about. And when you do get there, when you do get that level of clarity, and it's evolving, it's always expanding. We are humans in evolution. But when you have that clarity of this North Star, then the North Star is like lighting up your path. And then the high heart goals that you mentioned is the how. So having projects, 1 year or 5 year projects, like you said, the high heart goals are the things, the big stones that are the stepping stones that will take us towards this North Star. And one of my projects, for example, was this training, was to complete it and to have this other part of my expertise not only in communication, not only understand the corporate world, working with women in midlife who are going through pretty much what I went through as a journey, and working with the emotional piece, but also having this clarity of setting the right goals. Because I think that's why I mentioned in corporate world, goals are common knowledge. Seems like there isn't much to learn about goals, but I think it's very much about setting the right goals. And that was a game changer for me as well.
Yes, but also goal, it's a very personal thing. And in corporate world, usually we have some goals from above, from the top that we have to follow, but it's not always aligned with our goals. So if it's not our goal, it's just a task for us. And when we spend all our life completing someone else's tasks, it could be hard. It could be exhausting. I like to test my goals or to challenge the goals of the clients when we have sessions. And I ask usually about what drives you to pursue this goal, what drives you to continue to do this activity. And we define some drivers. And then I said, imagine that these drivers are gone. They are gone forever. You don't have them anymore. Will you still pursue this goal? Will this activity still be meaningful for you? And if it is, then maybe it's a real clear goal that will inspire you and that you should follow. Because if it's not, it could be more connected to some external validation, some not intrinsic motivated goals. And if you will follow wrong goals, you will not come to the end, to the finish line, because you will be exhausted in the process of going to this final point, to this starter state. And also what is brilliantly described and was some kind of insight for me, this first, actually in Flow we have 4 stages, and the first stage is struggle, and a lot of people they're stuck in this state. So if we choose we'll take this part as a state. So if you're stuck in a struggle and if you're in continuous struggle, you will not enter to the flow and you will not achieve the results. And this is the big problem of corporate world, because you push harder, do more, spend more time, but actually flow for me is a very elegant way and very powerful way to achieve what you want with less effort, with less resources. So it's like kind of the mastery. And this is inspiring. So I like to calibrate myself through feeling. And I advise to make some calibration point about when you're in the peak of the struggle, when this burnout starting. And this is the point that maybe you should make some stop and move to another phase of a flow where you can release and you completely change your activity for some period of time, for maybe walking, breathing, reading, for something else. And this is the point where your unconscious mind will still continue to work on the task. And this is the point where the phase where you can give to yourself some insights and then enter the flow. And it's completely amazing shift. It's really smooth if you will plan and arrange it thoroughly.
Yeah, you made some really great points there. One thing that you mentioned is intrinsically motivated goals. And I want to double click on that, because as we are in that piece of bigger goals, what makes you go for bigger goals? And you touched on the identity piece. So having clarity on a goal that is aligned with who you are and what you do, and then checking on that intrinsic motivator, which in simpler terms is saying, are you doing it for the sake of doing it because you enjoy doing it, because it's meaningful to you, or are you doing it to achieve something outside, meaning money, fame. And I like the question that you ask, if all of these drivers are not present, would you still do it? And that's a very simple way to say, is this internally motivated? Is this goal something that drives you? Or is this goal something that you will achieve and then it will flatten out? Because extrinsic motivators don't sustain your bigger goals. Big goals are intrinsically motivated. They are driven from within. They are not driven by money or fame, because once you achieve those things, then the desire for that goal basically goes away, and it's just a short-term goal. It's a materialistic goal, and it's perfectly fine. It's wonderful to have all kinds of goals, but to have the clarity of, I'm going to work for this goal for this amount of time, and then once it's done, that's it. But technically, is it helping me get to my bigger goals, to the real things that will be meaningful for me? So I thought that was a really good piece to kind of see as the foundations that will create the possibility for us to even dream of bigger goals, and then be able to really take practical steps to, okay, how do I achieve a bigger goal? What is that bigger goal, and what is it driven by? And you also started talking about the flow cycle. And can you tell us a little bit how you see the whole cycle? Because you talked about the struggle phase, but for people who don't know that flow
Yeah,
has a
sure.
cycle, what
Sorry
is
for not giving the full picture. So
the
to set the stage,
cycle?
we have the first stage is struggle. When we have some tasks, some thoughts about the domain that we want to change, or some challenge that we face. After that, we need to release it, because when we're in the struggle phase, our brain works on the high beta waves, and to stay a long time without rest on these brains is kind of exhausting. And flow is completely works completely on our other waves that are much slower. So after struggle phase, we have the release phase, when we can have some relaxing, some time for pausing this activity, and to give us a break. And after that, we will enter the flow. And this is this target state of heightened focus, when we are super productive, when we can work efficiently on the task without noticing time. For example, from my personal experience, like my own benchmark for me, when I started painting and I was obsessed, I don't know why, I decided that my goal was to make one painting. I had this canvas, oil paints, everything. And when I worked on my painting, I could spend 3 or 4 hours just standing and painting, and I didn't notice, and I didn't felt that I'm tired or something like that. It was super exciting, and now I use it as a benchmark. And after the flow, and I should mention also that the flow is a really pleasant state, because all our neurochemistry brings us endorphins, oxytocins, and other neurotransmitters that are make us feel good. And after that, we need to relax, because it's a good state, but it's quite costly in terms of the energy. And to restore energy, we must be very aware that it's not just sitting with a beer or with a glass of wine, binge watching of Netflix or something like that. It's active stage, and I think you already, yes, I remember you already had a broadcast about active recovery, and it's very important to pay attention to this, because you need fuel. Flow is a vehicle, and you need to fuel for this vehicle. And this is the phase where you need to find what works for you better. Maybe breathing, maybe training, maybe yoga. It depends, but everything will work fine.
Yeah, that is quite a powerful cycle. And there's been discussion on whether the release phase is always present or not. Sometimes you can go straight into flow. However, the release is important, I think, when you're entering into the struggle phase, then depending on how big the struggle is and you're pushing through it, sometimes you can just enter into flow. And like you said, flow is a very costly state for the body. Is actually the most expensive state for the body
Yes.
when you think of energy in terms of the currency of the body, because the neurochemicals that are being released are some of the most potent chemicals, and they're all released at the same time. So you're having this out of body exhilarating experience. You're supercharged, super performed, and this state needs to be followed with active recovery, as you mentioned. And we did have a whole talk with Sarah, and we also touched upon it with Sandra when we're talking about returning to work anxiety and how to remove anxiety. And active recovery is part of everything that we learn about flow and that we teach about flow. It's the other side of flow. And because this is such an expensive state, what it's doing is literally spending all this energy from your body. So if you want to get back into a flow state, and even higher and higher and higher, you have to recover and replenish all of that energy that flow has basically cost you. So those are those are the 4 steps. And it's been interesting because I sometimes I notice that I don't release enough. And either because you talked about the struggle phase before, and I think this is a good point to stop in, because we all do it. We all get into a struggle phase and we start to distract because it's so uncomfortable. It feels so not good in the body. It feels like you're wasting time, you're not getting anything done. And our tendency is to go grab something to eat, or pick up the phone, call somebody, or do anything to feel like we're being productive. And this is the piece that can destroy the possibility of entering into flow. And when you take awareness that struggle phase is actually the beginning of flow, then instead of disrupting it, instead of bringing in all of these distractions, you want to stay in the struggle, you want to push through the struggle. And if the struggle is too much, then the release point is about something we call the boring break. So it's a very
Yes.
short break where you want to do something that is not stimulating at all, that it's not going to be more exciting than the project at hand that you are trying to get into flow with. So between active recovery and the release, to me, it's a bit like this, like the same. It's active recovery, but it's in a much shorter, contained version. So you want to release, you want to do some active recovery. You can do breath work, you can do meditation, you can do just a little walk in the park, but nothing that will take you completely out of the state that you're in, which is a struggle. The struggle is a sign that you're about to break into flow. And
Yeah.
that was a game changer for me. I
Yes,
didn't
because if
realize
your
how
rest
much
more interesting than your job, you will never return to it.
yeah,
That's the problem
exactly.
with all this social media, with the scrolling.
Hmm. Hmm.
But
Yeah,
also,
and
I help myself with the hypnosis, where I have some compound effect. I trick myself with the struggle. When struggle thing feels for me too hard, I don't think about it as a burden. I think about it as a fun challenge, and
mm,
say to myself, it will be so much fun to work on this, to struggle with these, I don't know, concepts, numbers, digits, with creating something. It's the first step of the creating something new, something bigger, something interesting. And this is where I change my focus from taking it as a burden to the something that's amazing and exciting. And this helps me to move more smoothly through this stage.
yeah, very good points. And tying it back to the goals and big goals. So you mentioned the goal stack, and that is a really good point to just expand just a little bit before we we wrap up this call and we look at the goal stack as a way to support the big goals that we're talking about. So we started with the idea that big goals are connected to your identity. It takes an identity, a clarity of identity to set the bigger goals. And then once you do have that, once you are aligned, you have a big goal, it does feel aligned and passionate, then how do you support getting to that big goal? And you mentioned the goal stack. And you mentioned the high heart goals, which are the 1 to 5 year projects, which is the how you get to this big dreams, to these big goals. And I was wondering if you could take an example, something practical, either from your life or from a client's experience. How has this setting of a goal stack helped support getting into, having a flow into bigger goals?
From my personal experience, maybe it's better to mention when I decided to be a psychologist. I also have a corporate background, and I came to the point where this activity starts seeming to me meaningful and not the way I want to spend my life. Because actually, as I look on my life, it's like I'm a historical process, and I know the entry point and I know the end point, and everything is what is in between. It's my life, and only I can create meaning for me and follow this meaning. And the goals reflects as a practical action steps this meaning. So when I decided to be a psychologist, I spent a lot of money and a lot of time investing in training. I learned everything I can reach. That's why I have some mix of the knowledge or the techniques, and I am trying to use everything that works. So I'm not dedicated to some old concept that became dogma. No, I look very practically. So I really like this, how you said, mastering the game of life. And I always wanted um, to find something about what is the core essence of being a human. And I think it's very actual in present day, because having this artificial intelligence boost up, it's everything. It is everything that permits all our life. So maybe it's a good idea to delegate all routine, mundane tasks to the AI. But this will the question will be arise about what will be left for humans, and what it's like to be a human. So, like, we are human beings, so we should know how to be and how we want to be. And this is the point. The goals will help us to make something more complicated, something that technology could not give us, something that will reveal our potential, our desire, maybe something else. And this what helps me to continue, because I don't know how to move forward without meaning. Because if we don't have meaning, we don't care what to do. Every activity would be good.
Very
So
good
to make
point.
the difference, you need to make some system of coordinates. And what is good about the flow, that it's really personal. So we have a general rules. We know how to enter, but how we live it through, it's very personal. So you can apply it, as you said in the beginning, to any activity, and you will have a different flow each time. But the more flow you have, the more flow will you get. And experiencing this efficiency when you have quick feedback about your results, that you're moving forward, that you're not staying in some stall point, let's say, it will be really inspiring, and inspiration will give you more energy, and you will need energy to move forward. So it's like everything connected together. And this is like your personal equation of life that you could solve and use to live your better life.
Very well synthesized. And I will add my personal experience as a testimony to that as well, that learning how to get into flow really helped me crystallize that a bigger goal, and not only crystallize it, but it helped me dare to make it happen, because in the goal stack, it pushes you to break down, it pushes you to really see if you are really serious about this goal, then there is a way. And it helps you to really just break down and reverse engineer all the steps, what you need to get there. And even though you don't know all the steps, just the process of actually doing this reverse engineering, really considering, starts to bring that reality into life. And it gives you the confidence and the clarity that you need to dare bigger and create bigger goals, which was the topic of this conversation. And I thought it was fascinating because it really was my experience and many of our experience and our clients as well, that when you learn how to bring flow into your life and create and design a flowy life, you do start to create bigger goals, and you do start to feel very supported into not making bigger and bigger goals, but knowing and trusting that you can actually achieve them.
Yes, definitely. Thank you for
And
this wonderful conversation and for organizing these events. It was a brilliant idea. And I think we would share more flow with everybody.
thank you, George. Thank you for joining. This has been fun. It has been 2 weeks of conversations with masters of flow, professionals and coaches from all walks of life. And George has also been in the corporate world, and also psychologists and hypnotherapists who also dove into peak performance through Flow Neuroscience. And it has been very insightful. And I hope it's been insightful and interesting for the viewers as well. So thank you for those who joined us live, and for everybody who will be watching this video on replay. Thank you, George, and I look forward to future collaborations.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.